You are listening to the Super Live Adventure Podcast. This episode was recorded in front of a live audience at Full Cup on September 18th, 2012. For more about Full Cup, visit fullcupsi.com.
Go for it!
I'm John Saluga.
Hi, I'm Chris Sorrentino.
We have some good news this week. We actually have a couple apps available now that you can download. We hope some of you will support the show that way.
Yeah, definitely. It is some bonus content you can get through the app.
Yeah, the best thing is just if you're an Android user, go to Amazon.com. For iPhone users, it's a little more complicated. You have to go to the App Store and get the podcast box. That's a free app, and we have an app within that. So again, great way to support the show and get some cool bonus content from us. In fact, we'll be putting up the theme song unedited for everybody to download.
The song you're hearing right now in the background.
Without us talking over it.
Yeah.
Which is the best way to hear it. Today on the show, we have Anthony DeVito. He's a stand-up comedian, good friend of mine too. He's one of the funniest guys that I know, so I hope you'll enjoy listening to this one.
He's good. He was a funny guy.
For those of you listening, I knocked the microphone over.
You broke the glass.
And it hit Chris's...
You broke my...
Did I break... Oh, I broke the glass.
I'm drinking glass and tonic.
Oh, Jesus.
You broke my glass.
That's a bad... I'm sorry.
Should I still drink this?
Look at the best bartender in the world, Kevin Devlin.
I'm going to still... Yeah,
There's broken glass in it.
That's it. It's alcoholic glass.
Pete, we're getting some feedback,
Thanks,
I think, because It might be because I knocked the microphone over.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good start. I was thinking, I listened to the last one, and it's this big, exciting theme song, and then we both came up and were like, hey. So this time I was like, we're gonna just fucking start it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that.
And
on like power thrusting.
Yeah, well, I fucked it up already.
I was gonna chop this table in half.
How are you? Good?
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm a little worried. Are we good? All right, we're good.
Pete King.
Pete King in the booth, everybody.
The
Give
King
it up.
of Peters. We salute you. Salute Pete.
Pete King, and this was all set up by Joe Pecora of Red Room Studios.
Good
Chris
guy.
was asking why there's cigars on the table. Joe Pecora got engaged, everybody.
Yes.
Give it up for our sound guy.
In Disney World.
In Disney World.
Which I had done once.
You had done that, yes. Once. You may do it again.
I'm not going to take it any further than that. Good luck to you guys. Good luck.
No, it's
Joe and
great.
Johnny. Thank you, Kevin Devlin.
Oh, Chris borrowed a bell from his job. Can I say that?
You could say borrow.
He borrowed a bell, and every time a new drink comes to the table, we're going to ring the bell. Because we realized on the previous podcast, there's a lot of drinking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of confusing listeing to it. So for those of you listening at home, every time you hear the bell,
have a drink.
Have a drink.
And if you want to know, John's drinking Bud Light with lime and clam and tomato juice, and I'm drinking Four Loko. So we're all good, right?
Yeah. So you want to get that at home and drink that as well.
Thanks. How
was Florida?
It was nerd-tastic, John.
Yeah, we have just to explain. Chris just got back from Star Wars Celebration down in Disney World. We talked about that a little bit last time. So you just had a nerdy...
Yeah.
How many days? 4 days? 5 days?
I was there 6 days. The convention was 4. I did 1 day in Universal. I did the Harry Potter joint. And then I did the 4 days at Celebration 6, which is in the Orlando Convention Center. Okay. And then I did 1 day in Disney Hollywood Studios.
Okay. How was it?
It was awesome.
Yeah?
Yeah, honestly, it was strange because I went down there with a bunch of Puerto Rican dudes. And I was the only white guy. And these all good guys, all good friends of mine. But it was strange walking through the convention with all these Puerto Rican guys from New York because they didn't fit the bill for Star Wars fans. You're seeing all these dudes, like a 50-year-old bald dude dressed like Luke with a fucking fag bag and all that. And he's like, ugh. And then I'm walking with like these dudes, you know what I mean? Like these dudes that kick someone's ass. And I have to commemorate their like spirit and their love of Star Wars because honestly, there's like no Puerto Ricans in Star Wars.
No.
Jimmy Smits, if he's even Puerto Rican, I don't know. But that whole galaxy is like a bunch of rice without beans.
Yeah, that's true. Even growing up, and we talked about this a little bit last time, I'm a huge Star Wars geek, but like original trilogy. So the only guy in that, there's Lando has that co-pilot that's an alien, but there you go. See, somebody.
I got his autograph. Neen Numb.
He's an alien. It's a rubber mask, and everybody who watches that movie is like, oh, the Mexican guy, like
with the mouth that looks like a pussy.
Somehow it's clear. Like no one ever argues that. Like the Mexican in Star Wars. Is not a Mexican. No. It's a rubber fish face of a guy. But there's something about the accent and everything that just he's very Mexican. Very likable.
Yeah, well, you know, and then it goes to like, you know, you got Jar Jar is Jamaican. The Moidians are like Japanese or some kind of Asian.
Yeah.
And it's
well, I remember when
some sort of alien Asian.
When Phantom Menace came out, I read a review where Jar Jar was described as a cross between Chris Tucker and Roger Rabbit, which is
very true,
spot on.
Yeah,
that's the best explanation for that annoying character. But,
that's brilliant, actually.
Yeah, what did you met people down there?
Yeah, okay, I met like Ian McDermott, nice guy. Carrie Fisher, who told me I look just like Belushi, which Dan Aykroyd had told me when I met him.
I love that. The way Aykroyd told him was the best, because Aykroyd just looked at you and said what?
He said, "You look like a very old friend of mine."
And
he was signing his Crystal Skull vodka in a liquor store. And he was just sitting there signing everybody who came through, shaking hands, sitting there. He saw me and he stood up and we did like the classic Blues Brothers back-to-back pose, like our arms crossed. And my father, who was taking the picture, was like, "Oh, I'm going to take this picture underwater, apparently." Because it's the fucking blurriest picture.
I've never seen... Chris was like, I got a picture with Dan Aykroyd and he showed me and it's just... There's nothing there.
No, it's like I could have taken a picture of my dog's vag, and it would have been the same. It would have looked more like Aykroyd.
Did you get a picture with Carrie Fisher?
No, I didn't, because like the high end stars like Fisher and McDermott and like Mark Hamill, they were charging $60 extra to take a picture with them. They called it froggies, and they would stand in front of like a backdrop, and you'd stand like fucking holding Mark Hamill's dick or something, and like. Spend $60 to take a fucking picture with them.
See, I got a picture with Carrie Fisher, but I went to her one-woman show. That's the way to do it.
How much did that cost, though?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, so you
it was after the show. It was me and a bunch of old women listening to her tell stories, and then I met her outside.
Like, I fucked Belushi.
I was so... well, maybe she did, but she fucked Aykroyd.
Yeah, they were engaged, no?
He proposed, she said no, and married Paul Simon.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm going to Graceland.
Who else did you meet down there?
Warwick Davis, who was awesome.
I'm a big Warwick. We might have to remind the crowd who Warwick is.
He's played Wicket, the Ewok. He plays Willow.
Leprechaun. He
has his own show, Life is Short.
Ricky Gervais, Life is Short.
He was a great guy. Coolest guy I met was Tamara Morrison, dude who played Jango Fett and all the clones and everything. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going tomorrow?" There's nobody on his line. I just kind of like walked up. I'm like, "What's going on, man?" He's like, "Hey, how you doing, brother?" I'm like, I'm cool. I'm like, I'm getting my DVD cover signed. He's like, "Oh, this is from the DVD." I'm like, "Yeah, these are from the DVD, man. You don't seen them?" "Nah, I don't watch them." I was like, "You don't watch the movies you're in?" "Nah, I don't fucking watch them." "What do you watch?" "Kung Fu movies." That's all, yeah. I was like, good for you, man.
Good for him.
Because if he did watch it, he'd probably cry.
Yeah. No,
I look like an asshole. There's like 5, 20, 30 of me running around like a bunch of pricks.
I go to the movies, and I was talking to your fiance about this because she went to the movies by herself. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Now. I got to a point, you get into a relationship, and then you promise the other person that you'll see the movie with them. And that's a great way to never see that movie. Like that's all that happens. So I find like the way I see a movie now is she'll fall asleep at like 9:30 on a Monday night, and then I go by myself to see a 10 o'clock screening of a movie, and then I'm like the sad old man that falls asleep halfway through. I fell asleep. The Avengers, people like
You slept through the Avengers?
I fell asleep during like the battle in Manhattan when like literally, and I'm seeing it in 3D. So like Captain America's shield is flying at my face and I fucking nodded off. Like that's where I am now. I'm more and more I'm feeling like an old man every day. Christine, my fiance, went to Boston for the weekend. I was like, I got the weekend to myself. I could sleep in. I woke up at 7:30 in the morning on Saturday and my first thought was, you know what? I'll go to Costco and get my tires rotated.
Yeah, we were supposed to meet up, and it took you.
It took me 4 hours.
Jesus Christ!
But I'm there. I'm on this line, and every dude there, it's just an old man with a wedding ring and me. And I was like, oh, this is now like these are my peers. Like the guy's waiting,
married,
fucking waiting for Costco to open. No, I didn't. I mean, I didn't talk to anybody, but. I'm married. I'm gonna get married in January. It's like really, it's really, really close. I watched
a lot of lonely movies. That's all that.
I want to bring this up. I watched a movie. It's not a new movie. This is an old movie. I watched a movie called Punchline, and I hope some of you have seen it. By the moans in the crowd. Yeah, it's a stand-up comedy movie with Tom Hanks and Sally Field. And I felt like I had to watch it just because I do stand-up comedy. So I'm like, I have to see this. It's been on my list of things to see forever. It's fucking terrible, and I recommend it to all of you. Because first of all, there's a comedy club in the movie that there's like 20 comedians getting paid. They all have their own lockers in the basement. They're all getting ready. It's like a comedy show. It's a comedy show that never ends. And it's the worst comedy show in the world. And if it existed in real life, I would buy tickets every day. Like it was that amazing. But I had this really depressing realization because I'm watching the movie. Tom Hanks plays this single New York stand-up comic, and he's out there. He's trying to make it. Okay, he's very funny. He's trying to get his big break. And then Sally Field is married to John Goodman. She's got 3 daughters. One of them is DJ Tanner.
Okay. Oh yeah.
All right. And she's trying to juggle like being a housewife with doing stand-up comedy. And I'm watching the movie, and halfway through, I realized I was relating to Sally Field and not Tom Hanks. And I'm watching this with Christine, and that's a depressing thought, but I kept it to myself.
Christine looks nothing like John Goodman, people. Let's just put it out there.
But here's the thing. This is where I knew that I wasn't taking the right approach to comedy, because a few minutes go by, and then Christine turns to me, and she goes, I'm not like John Goodman in this, am I? And I was like, motherfucker, like I'm Sally Field.
You're more like John Goodman in Arachnophobia, is what you should have said. That's the correct answer for that.
Arachnophobia. When I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to see horror movies as a kid. Arachnophobia.
It's not a horror movie?
If you've never seen a horror movie, it's the scariest movie in the world. Like if you've never seen anything, a spider crawling in somebody's nose and like eating his brain, that's horrifying.
But did you see Temple of Doom when you were a kid? That's scarier than Arachnophobia.
Oh yeah, that scared me too. Yeah, but Arachnophobia fucked me up.
Really? No.
Yeah, and what fucked me up was the marketing for that movie. Nobody ever talks about this, but there was a commercial on TV that made it look like a John Goodman comedy. They literally would be like Arachnophobia, a thrill-omedy. That's what it used to say.
Well, that's thrill-omedy.
Yeah, thrill-omedy. Well, John Goodman, the whole commercial was John Goodman as an exterminator killing spiders. And I was like, I want to see that movie. John Goodman's in 5% of that movie. Yeah. The rest of it is spiders eating people's brains.
Did they add like a fart in the trailer? Just like John Goodman fight the spider fart in?
I would love to. They probably did. Because it was really, they made it like this goofy comedy. And I begged my father to take me to see it. And then I was terrified.
Well, I was just saying the thrill-omedy. I remember that, and they actually promoted Ghostbusters, something similar, the supernatural spooktacular.
Spooktacular.
Yeah, that's how they...
And I'll tell you what. For those of you, maybe I don't know if that got picked up on the microphone, and make sure you're talking nice and close too. But somebody in the audience, Dave Anderson, friend of ours, just yelled out, "Offended black people." I'll tell you what offended black people. Chris Chris had a Ghostbusters 2 cardboard cutout, and
No, Ghostbusters 1. Ghostbusters 2, they put Winston in. But Ghostbusters 1, there's in any of the advertising, any kind of print media, there's no Winston.
Yeah, it's just 3 guys and no Winston.
No Winston
on everything.
But honestly, that part was supposed to go to Eddie Murphy. It was supposed to be like a bigger, expanded part.
I heard Eddie Murphy. I heard Richard Pryor.
Well,
they were trying to get
Murphy,
other people.
And he turned it down because he was contracted already to do like 48 hours. So he turned down Ghostbusters, and they just like, instead of going for somebody else that's funny, they went for good old Ernie Hudson.
I'll tell you something. If you watch that movie,
rocks the cradle, Ernie Hudson.
If you think about it as a screenwriter, there's a character that's introduced halfway through the movie that's totally unnecessary. The only thing he contributes...
I'll carry your stuff, sir. I'll shine your shoes, Dr. Venkman. It's really fucked up.
Well, his big lines are, I've seen shit that'll turn you white. He says that to the mayor. And then at the end, I love this town.
Other than that line.
And by the way, I like Winston, but if you really think about it, like, it's weird to bring a character in at that point. And then when you find out the backstory, it's like, oh, they were expecting the crowd to go nuts because this is the point where Eddie Murphy came in.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Yeah, Slime, the ghost just trashing a hotel room.
Yeah, gluttonous ghost.
Yeah, that's John Belushi.
The role of Louis Tully that Rick Moranis played was originally supposed to be John Candy was supposed to play that role. And when he read for it, he was like, I don't know if I'm right for this. Let me introduce you to my friend Rick. And that's how Moranis got it. He goes, I think he'd be better for the job. Yeah. It was originally written. He wasn't like as nerdy and weird, obsessed with Dana Barrett. He was, this big German guy with 2 Doberman pinchers. And it was like, it just made no sense. Like, it was
and he passed that to Rick Moranis.
Yeah, there's all weird shit that happened with that movie. Gozer, you see like the woman Gozer, the traveler, the destroyer. She, wasn't supposed to be in the film. It was supposed to be Ivo Shandor, the architect of the building. And he was supposed to be played by Paul Rubens. And he flaked out at the last moment and didn't show up for any of his readings or anything.
Pee Wee Herman. Yeah, that's Pee Wee Herman.
Well, it was originally written in the script as like a thin man in a suit. So they're like, oh, we'll go with Paul Rubens. And he's like, I heard he's a notorious flake. Like he just like ducks out on shit. So he never showed up for this, which would even boosted his career up even more back in, early 80s. But
bringing up Rick Moranis isn't a bad segue into a bit that I want to do because Dan Fuller, he's a friend of the show. He doesn't come to the show because of a karaoke dispute. Has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, there's like 12 Japanese guys in the back that want to kick his ass. I'm not lying. They're all wearing cowboy boots. You better watch out.
But he's constantly trying to start a rumor that Rick Moranis died. And he feels like, by the way, if anybody wants to push that forward, it is the perfect celebrity because he's a guy that like everybody knows and likes, but you haven't heard from. Like, what has Rick Moranis done lately? And so like people believe it. And like every 6 months or so, he'll just send out a tweet or he'll post on Facebook like, oh my God, Rick Moranis died.
Just like that?
Yeah, and he just tries to
He doesn't try to do it a little more clever, like, honey, I shrunk my life. Like,
no, nothing like that. I mean, there's people, there are always those rumors, like people always try to start, I always feel bad. People always start the Bill Cosby's dead rumor.
I bought into that.
I bought into that too, and I actually...
I think I texted you, I was like, guess who died?
And I started writing Ghost Dad jokes for it. and I was actually... It was this weird feeling of there was a moment where I was upset that he was alive because I couldn't do this material.
That's a film I'd love to see. Ghostbusters versus Ghost Dad.
I think Bill Cosby started a Twitter account just to go out there and be like, I'm not dead. Like I'm
making Leonard Part 7. I swear I'm not dead.
The reason I said Dan Fuller was a good segue, and you haven't seen these yet, so I work with Dan Fuller. And Danny was invited to a wedding in Connecticut, and he was asked. Everybody had to bring stuff, so they asked him if he could bring some booze. So he was planning on making like sangria, but enough sangria for a wedding. Making it on Staten Island, bringing it to Connecticut. So he was like, "Oh, I'm going to use those Home Depot buckets."
like the big orange 5-gallon Home Depot
Wait,
buckets.
why would he go through all that? Why wouldn't he just wait till he got to Connecticut and just buy a bunch of liquor? Why would he think, like, this is the best route? Let me make sangria in Staten Island and drive it to Connecticut.
That's what I said. I was like, why don't you just bring the fruit and everything? He was like, but then I gotta do everything there. It's easier to do at home.
Do something. Yeah, that's Stanford.
Anyway, this is his logic. And then he was worried about putting Home Depot buckets full of sangria in his trunk because he didn't know if they would actually like hold the sangria or if sangria would be spilling all over the place. So Danny went to Danny went to the internet and he went to HomeDepot.com and he looked up the bucket because he wanted to see if it would hold. He's trying to find out if it holds sangria. Like, I love. That's why he went
some
online.
Other completely moronic weirdo wrote a review about that.
Well, here's what's beautiful. He goes to HomeDepot.com and he finds. So it's called the Homer bucket. It's the orange bucket with the Home Depot like cartoon guy on it.
Yeah,
It's a 5-gallon orange bucket that they sell, and they sell it cheap because it's got the Home Depot name on it.
You need another drink?
Yeah, I'll take one more.
Okay.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin.
It's not here yet.
It's not here. Oh, I'm sorry. Take it
All
back.
right.
Take it
Those
back.
of you at home, this is where you pause the podcast, fix yourself a drink. Is that how that works?
I guess so, yeah.
Or this is where
Now,
I edit
drinking?
that whole
what
section
are you
out.
drinking, Jameson?
I'm drinking Doers tonight.
Doers? All right.
Yeah.
I'm drinking gin
Look
and
at the
tonics.
fancy glasses we have.
I know. We're drinking goblets.
Goblets of booze you should not drink out of goblets. That's what's happening. So Danny goes.
Goblet of fire.
Danny goes to HomeDepot.com and there are 30 reviews of a 5-gallon plastic bucket.
Which we will read all 30.
All 30 tonight.
Into the
here's
wee
thing.
hours of the morning.
I rely on customer reviews. Like, I appreciate it. And I guess I'm kind of a jerk because I never leave any. But I can't imagine buying a plastic bucket and being like, I have to leave a review.
It's like that's the review on Amazon for Ghostbusters Blu-ray says, like, not enough of the black guy. I'm going to write that review.
You should write that review.
Yeah.
I do want to stress, these are all real reviews, and Chris hasn't heard any of them.
No, he told me about this, and I said, you know what? Don't read any of them to me yet. I want to hear them. So you, like, I don't have to, like, fake laugh.
And maybe this will be, this might be like a recurring bit. This is a new segment we call Home Depot Homer 5-gallon orange bucket customer reviews.
Next episode is masking tape.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Kevin.
Kevin Devlin, greatest bartender in the
Here
world.
for your bartender, everybody.
Tip your bartender.
All right, so the first review I want to read, thank you. This one, 5 out of 5 stars. It's entitled Storage. And it's written by Tattoo Carl in March of 2010. Tattoo Carl from Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. Conshohocken. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Here it is. I own 2 Homer buckets. One I use for dry foods as I am limited on storage space, as it also doubles as a chair side table to put my drinks on. And the second I use as a trash/everything else can.
Old tattoos just go right in the bucket.
Do you realize a trash/ like the only thing after the slash should be nothing else, other than like trash/vomit can.
Trash in my kid's breast milk.
I buy 13-gallon trash bags and line the can and put the lid on. No need to buy a trash can for my kitchen. The Homer bucket does the job, and it looks good in a man's apartment. Exclamation point.
Carl,
5
tattoos
stars.
should not be your priority right now. Get a table. Get a real garbage can.
No, this guy doesn't get... But here's what I love about Carl. So there are 30 reviews on this website. 3 of them are written by Carl.
There's not much to do in Coop and Poop in Pennsylvania.
I swear to God, this is true. 2 years later. The headline for this one is, Orange color stands out. And this time he's just Carl. And now he's in Reading, Pennsylvania. This is a follow-up to Tattoo Carl review back in 2010. This is Tattoo Carl, and I now reside in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Wait, you wrote all this?
This is what he wrote.
Like, in case you're wondering what I've been up to, I've lost the chats. I moved my pails.
This is the best. I still have the 2 buckets from my original review, and now a lot of the guys here use them as I do. I don't know where he is. That like all the guys are doing this. The one
other side of a glory hole. You ever wonder what's going on there? Tattoo Carl knows.
Tattoo Carl and orange buckets everywhere.
I fill it with everything.
He switched it up a little bit. The one I said I use as a chair side table is now used as a bedside table. And inside I store canned food, sugar packets, crackers, bagged cereal, etc. with no odor pickup from the plastic. And the other is a trash can / laundry wash bucket. So if you were wondering,
when
like
I
before,
wash my garbage.
2 years ago it was everything else. Now it's specifically garbage and laundry. Like, let me take the garbage out so I could do my laundry. Do you realize, like, he will throw...
Maybe
like,
he wears garbage.
God, like, just think about what goes into that. Like, food and stuff like that. And then he empties it and he...
This is Carl, a.k.a. Tattoo Carl. By the way, I'm still single. I got the one by the bed from a puke. The other one from my clothes I puked on.
Now, this is weird. 1 month later, another 5-star review from Carl.
Oh, Carl.
And this one, Homer 5-gallon bucket. I live in a small 1-room apartment and are limited on space. So what I love about this one is he addresses the bucket this time.
Is he still just Carl, or is he...
He's still just Carl, but he starts... Now it's a letter to the bucket. It's like, Homer 5-gallon bucket, comma, I live in a small 1-room apartment.
I enjoy long walks in the trash piles.
I have 2 buckets, and the first is used as storage for canned goods, snacks, eating utensils, etc. Also, the buckets double as a bedside table to put my glasses on, and also my alarm clock, in parentheses, cell phone. And the second is used as a trash can. The color and logo look good in a man's living quarters. So he brings it back to that. Not a women, it's not going to look good in your place. Guys, orange buckets in place of furniture.
Well, there's a few ladies here tonight. How would you feel if you met a dude, you went back to his place, and he had orange buckets as furniture that he may put his trash or laundry in, depending on the day? Like, how would you feel?
He's a keeper. I'll tell you something. He's not alone.
Carl. That's his next review.
This one was just written this past June. 5 out of 5 stars again. Extreme deluxe value. This one is written by Love This Bucket.
Wait, that's his name on there?
His name is Love This Bucket. That's the name he put in for himself. This product is amazing. It has so many uses. It makes a great Halloween costume, end tables for my living room, shower, toilet. Forget buying expensive appliances. This bucket takes care of your needs. I have dozens of these around the house. I honestly don't know what I would do without this bucket. I even took out my kitchen cabinets and just have these buckets sitting around my kitchen. Works like a charm. Washing machine, no problem. Trash can, done. Mailbox, you got it. I absolutely love this. That's from Love This Bucket.
Girlfriend never. Mom's ashes taken care of.
Now, again, there were 30 of these. I'm only going to do 3 more. This next one is a negative one. This next one...
What would Carl say?
Carl would be upset. This is 1 star out of 5. Not for food, not a FDA bucket. Written by JQB1147 from New York.
Wait, what's FDA? I'm not sure.
Food and Drug Administration.
Oh,
they do not approve of eating.
I know that. I'm just stupid.
He looked into it, and they don't approve of eating food out of a Home Depot bucket.
Who would think?
It's very surprising.
By Cum Bucket 005.
Now, I hope you find this as funny as I did. I did some research and found out this pail cannot be used for food products. I had to buy an FDA bucket from another company. This is a good bucket and price for a general use, like dog food. essentially saying, fuck your dog. Like, that's what I love. Like, this isn't safe for food. Don't put your food in it. Put your dog's food in it. I love that review. I don't think it gets any better than this one. 5 out of 5 stars. This one's called Extreme Value. This one's from May of this year. It's written by Desert Trekker.
Oh, Indiana Jones.
He's from Orange County. I have now buried 383 of these in the California desert.
All containing my mother.
Mostly full of water, some with wheat and a grinder, and also
Wheat or weed?
Wheat.
Wheat, all right.
And a grinder, and also 10 full of diesel fuel and a Coleman stove. I put a bead of GE silicone caulk on the lid groove and hammer it on. In medium hard soil, I can bury one in 10 minutes with 2 feet of cover. If you want to do the math, that's 10 minutes times 383 Home Depot buckets.
So, hey, ladies, what's up? Want to visit a shallow grave?
Total cost is $1,231 for everything, including transport gas, but not my labor. In case you wanted to hire him to bury 383 buckets in your backyard.
I might.
These are regular $7 thick buckets sold at a loss for advertising. I also turned one upside down in the sun, full of water, after caulk, and no leaks. Of course, I have mixed concrete in these many times. Only gripe is if left in the sun for a year, they break apart from the UV. And this is to quote, Berry solves that. So that's why. I don't know if you have anything to add.
I just picture like a bunch of buried Home Depot buckets just filled with cement with like a squirrel in the middle, like weird.
Oh
shit.
yeah, just like I'm waiting for him.
Weird.
I'm waiting for his second review. Like, hey, wrote that review a year ago. Great for human heads. Yeah. Like human heads. I put a human head in there, and it actually held up in the desert if you bury it with 2 feet of cover.
I caught Tattooed Carl stealing my buckets from the desert. Fuck you, Carl. Get your own bucket.
That'd be the best. Like Tattooed Carl, somebody came into my place, stole all my buckets, and left a note saying, I buried them in the desert. Good luck finding them.
Get your bucket detector.
Sincerely, Desert Trekker. All right, here's our last review.
That's funny because my email and my Amazon name is actually Dessert Trekker. I get confused for this guy all the time. People are like, where'd you bury your dessert? I'm like, shut up, I ate it.
Our last review is another 5 out of 5 stars. It's from I Love Buckets. And
including my wife.
From Buffalo, New York, it's entitled, It's a Bucket, Y'all. Now this one's great, because he starts like this. It's a bucket. Why would you write a review about it? Unless yours came with holes drilled in it, I'm sure it does the job.
Bucket, 2 tears in this bucket.
But then here's where he kind of starts to come around. He goes, but in all seriousness, it's a great bucket. And then we'll end with this. He basically says why he loves the bucket, and what he says about it is the best way to review a bucket. Like if you had to judge a bucket, this guy nails it. Aside from horrible grammar, this is how you should judge a bucket. He wrote, I put a bunch of stuff in mine last fall, and they are still in there. So an A+ from me.
This is stuff that could have crawled out?
That's it. It's like, I love that, if you buy a bucket and you put stuff in the bucket and you walk away and you come back and that stuff is still in the bucket, it did its fucking job. That is what a bucket does.
I put 4 Dominican babies in this bucket.
So that has been Home Depot Orange 5-gallon Homer bucket customer reviews, everybody.
Thank you, Home Depot.
HomeDepot.com if you want to read the rest. There are literally 30
Oh, thank you.
30 of those. I didn't even tell you, tonight it's really hard for me. I hurt my back.
Doing what?
Carrying groceries in by myself. I mean, that's where I'm at.
You are a fag.
It's a regular thing for me to. I shop at ShopRite and then I call Christine and I say, "Hey."
Wait, is this the same ShopRite you used to work at?
Yeah.
Is that weird?
It's a little bit weird because sometimes I get stuck there, but I know where everything is.
Like I'm gonna hang out with my ex-girlfriend type of like. Does that feel like that?
There, when you work at a supermarket like that, I mean, I left there 9 years ago. So there's only a few people that are still there. There aren't many, but yeah, I've gotten stuck talking to managers and stuff, asking like what I'm up to and things like that. The worst was I went there one time and I got stuck talking to a cashier, and then the next day I realized I forgot something, so I went to Pathmark instead, and I swear to God the same cashier was working at Pathmark also, and I got stuck all over again.
I work everywhere. There's no space and time for me. I'm just the cashier. It's like Doctor Who. I'm the cashier.
But I hurt my back, and I was thinking about you. First of all, my back is fucked up. A lot of people don't know this story. My back is fucked up for two reasons. One, my stepfather doesn't know how to drive a boat. That's one. And I won't get into any more than that. The second thing is I used to ride my bike everywhere. And I work at the College of Staten Island, and a student whose uncle advised him to only hand tighten his lug nuts in case he gets a flat. That student driving at 30 miles an hour, his wheel came off with the tire and the rim traveling at 30 miles an hour and hit me on my bike and destroyed my bike and my back at the same time. So every now and then I throw it out, and I usually throw it out the same way, where I call Christine and I say, "Hey, I'm leaving ShopRite. I'll be home in 2 minutes." And I get home in 2 minutes, and then I grab everything by myself, and I walk in, and she's on the couch in her pajamas, and she goes, "Oh, you got home so fast."
And you're on the second floor.
Yeah, and that's like a regular thing. Either she forgets how close we are, or as I'm packing groceries away, she secretly laughs at the fact that she didn't help me. But I always think of you, because Chris, as long as I've known him, throws his back out every year.
I didn't this year.
You didn't this year?
No.
It's about time. What Chris used to do is the first hot day of the year, he would go down in the basement and he'd get his air conditioner. He would carry it up by himself and struggle. He'd put it in the window, turn it on, and then lay underneath it and fall asleep for hours with it on full blast and throw his back at. And then he'd wake up unable to move his legs for a week. Every single time. That's where I'm at. I'm having a hard time.
I just had gotten a job. Currently, where I'm working now at Staten Island Hospital, I just landed this job. It's a well-paying job. It's union. It's all that good stuff. It's a hospital. I just got that job a day later after the interview and got hired. Threw my back out doing the same thing, picking up an air conditioner. And
not just picking up an air conditioner, but going to sleep under it on full blast.
But I'll never forget.
And I've known Chris for like over a decade, and it's like, yeah, he's like, oh, my back, I can't get together. And I'm like, did you carry an air conditioner and then fall asleep under it for a whole day? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget laying in cool air watching the Jurassic Park trilogy, like, oh, I love life. And meanwhile, I'm skipping work, but that has not happened since I've gotten a hernia.
No, I fucked myself up. Oh, that'll do it. I'm also an idiot because my back is killing me, and then I play chiropractor, and I'm like, hey, Christine, just dig your knee into my lower back for a half an hour. That'll fix it.
I've got a bad hernia that I won't get fixed right now because I'll be out of work for like 6 weeks, and that like pays nothing. I got fucking kids. I got bills to pay. I got mouths to feed. All that bullshit. You guys want to see a bad hernia?
Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
Oh, there it is.
Look at that. That's a hernia. That's Quado coming out of...
For those of you...
That's a hernia? Yeah, that's a hernia.
That looks like an Audi. That's fucked up.
I know. It looks like an Audi belly button. That's a fucking hernia. Look at this. No, I don't want to. I don't even want to touch it. I can look at it.
For those of you listening at home, Chris just showed his belly button, which is the size of a newborn baby's head.
Yeah, I've got a bad hernia that I'm just scared to get fucked. Yeah, I've got Quado.
I'll tell you something, man. It's,
Resistance Queen.
it's a horrible thing to say, but the day you need to take care of it, you'll know.
But you know what
You know what I
sucks?
mean? Like,
This is like Quado, but I'm more like the black guy who in Total Recall is like, I got 6 kids, man. I dropped this kid. I got kids to feed. I'm more like that guy instead of the Quado guy.
I love.
My priorities are in the shit.
There's a lot of Total Recall references tonight.
Yeah, what's up with that, man?
I showed my sisters for the first time. That movie holds up.
Verhoeven, man. You cannot go wrong with a Verhoeven.
No,
movie.
you can't.
But that fucking remake. Did anybody see that remake? No.
I didn't see it.
I cannot
But
fathom
Verhoeven's the
movie.
director. When you ask him about Robocop, he's like, Robocop is the American Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, all right.
It is. He rises from the dead. It's all about redemption.
Yeah.
He is. I don't know about RoboCop 2. That's weird. RoboCop 2 is a weird movie. That scared me when I was a kid.
But me too, because he goes back and he
209.
visits his family. It's creepy. But I showed my
drug. What was the name of that drug? Anybody remember that? Nuke.
Yeah.
Yeah. That scared me. I was scared of being addicted to Nuke one day.
My sisters, I'm 32. My sisters are 18 and 16. We watched Total Recall and it fucked them up.
They
It still
remade
scared
that.
them.
They're remaking RoboCop right now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I saw it too.
RoboCop.
They got the posters out there.
They're remaking Short Circuit.
No.
Yeah.
Is the Gutenberg involved?
No Gutenberg.
Fuck.
But I was like,
Wait,
my
somebody
sisters.
has a question. Yeah.
I saw the new RoboCop outfit. Did it look like a mix of Batman and Iron Man?
I didn't see the new RoboCop.
Yeah, it did look. I'll give you that. It looked like a black Iron Man costume.
Yeah.
I don't mean like a black guy as Iron Man, because we've seen that. We've seen Cheadle as Iron Man.
That's War Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is War Machine.
But Total Recall, my sisters had never seen it and actually kind of messed them up, and then they were curious about Schwarzenegger movies. And then the next has to be Terminator. Like, we have to watch that. But I was thinking
The Terminator
about...
movies are great. I
what's
have no
weird about
problem with
Terminator?
movies. Anything else Schwarzenegger does, I won't.
I have a
touch.
few problems with Terminator.
Other than Predator. I'm sorry.
And I'm only gonna bring up one thing right now, but time travel in Terminator,
Yes.
you can only do in the nude. And I was thinking about the guy who invented time travel. And imagine, we're in
He's
the
a
future.
nudist.
And I
He's
say
an
to you,
exhibitionist.
and I say, Chris, you can travel through time. Not only that, I can send you back and you can fucking save the world. And you're like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And then I say, take off all your clothes.
I'll do it. I'll get naked in front of you.
No.
I've
Wait.
done it.
You wouldn't even
practically.
question it? You're telling me in
Yeah,
that...
I would not question.
Yes, you would. In the moment, you'd be
Me?
like, why? And I'd be like, well, listen, I'm a brilliant scientist. I have discovered time travel. I haven't figured out the clothes thing yet.
No, but it makes sense because you know what? A person never changes, but style does.
Is that
Can
all
I
it
get
is?
an amen? Church.
It's like, if I send you back in your futuristic clothing, you'll never wear that leather jacket and 90s sunglasses.
They'll know. They'll be like, this guy has fucking a jacket that dries itself and shoes that fucking laser. He must be Marty McFly. Fuck this motherfucker.
You don't agree with me, so I'm going to bring up our next guest. Comedian Anthony DeVito, everybody. Because I cannot be alone.
What, the naked thing?
If I told you I invented time travel, I'm going to send you back in time. Please undress.
Oh, wait. You guys discuss this? I'm going to hit the bathroom really quick. 5 seconds.
Go for it.
That'd be great if both you guys left. I don't know what to do.
It could happen. We're highly unprofessional here.
Yeah, I think it'd be funny if they just put socks on the guy. Like, if it was totally, but they were like, well, just wear these socks because I'm hilarious. That'd be great. He just got up and slipped all over the place.
I got to tell you something. As a stand-up comic, my favorite moments, and I don't know if you agree, my favorite moments in stand-up comedy are horrible moments in stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And you have to have some.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one, and then we'll bring it to you.
Sure.
One of my favorite moments ever, New York Comedy Club.
Yeah,
A guy-
shithole.
A guy named yeah, it really is. Here's the thing. A guy named Julio Rey saw me here when I was starting to do stand-up comedy. And he came up to me after and he was like, "You got the goods."
Yeah, I love
And-
people that do that.
You got some cocks on your promise.
What Julio Rey is a
Shine
guy
that
who
cock.
he books Julio Rey books shows where you have to bring a certain number of friends. They're gonna pay X amount of dollars to get in.
A bringer
It's called a bringer show. So you're gonna pay $15 to get in, and then you're gonna buy 2 drinks, and I'm gonna get on stage for like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And he tells me, I'm going to book you at the New York Comedy Club. And I'm like, the New York Comedy Club? You know, like, I think this is the most amazing fucking thing. And Julio Rey books me on the show, and he's like, man, come down and do this. So it's the New York Comedy Club, and I get down, and Kevin Bartini's working the door.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Stand-up comic. He's working the door, and I say, hi.
Is that Barker kid?
No, he's a stand-up comic.
All right. I know it was a dude who just like barked the shit out of everything. Just for getting like you get 7 minutes just because he stood out there barking the whole
a lot
night.
of people look.
yeah, I'll go do that.
I've done that too. Barking, by the way, is when you stand outside a comedy show and you try to get people in. I've done plenty of it. I've never gotten a single person in ever. I'm horrible at barking. But I'm doing this bringer show and I show up and Kevin Bartini's at the door and I say, "Hi, my name is John Saluga. I'm here to do stand up tonight." And he said, "Who booked you on the show?" And I said, "Julio Rey." And he said, "Julio Rey just punched me in the face." And that's true. They were fighting over money, and I put my hand out and I said, "I'm John Saluga. Can I still do some time on the show?" And he's like, "Yeah, we can give you like 7 minutes." And for a while, by the way, I was doing
Or I'll punch you in the face.
I was doing Julio Rey and Kevin Bartini shows without letting the either know because they got into a fist fight over money.
You're a slut.
So, yeah, I just wanted stage time. And I'm backstage, and I'm thinking, like, I'm at the New York Comedy Club. This is a big fucking deal. And there's this dude backstage. He's an older guy, and he's wearing a suit, and he's sweating. And he's a nervous wreck. He goes, "Hey, man, you nervous?" And I said, "Yeah, you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've never done stand-up before." And in that moment, I realized, like, oh, this means nothing.
Yeah.
It's just like whoever brings people.
Yeah.
And that was the big joke with the New York Comedy Club was like, if you mow the owner's lawn, you can fucking headline a comedy show. And I did my set, and this guy went on after me, and it was one of the most horrible comedy routines I've ever seen. And to this day, my favorite. He got on stage. He's wearing a fucking suit. He's like in his 50s, and he's got a hefty bag full of shit.
Like literal shit.
It's you can see there's like a blow-up doll and balloons. It's just a hefty bag full of props. And he gets on stage, and he starts with Dizzy Gillespie. Am I saying that right?
Gillespie.
I'm drunk. But he starts with doing impressions. He starts with impressions of Dizzy if he sang Eminem songs.
Yeah.
So he's doing this impression, and it's fucking bomb.
This guy's headlining the Looney Bin.
Hey, sorry to interrupt the podcast, but I just want to explain something here because I was drunk and worried that I wasn't pronouncing Gillespie properly, but that's not actually the name I meant to say. The stand-up comedian that I saw was doing a Louis Armstrong impression, and he was doing Louis Armstrong doing Eminem, which is funnier because it was just like, you know, "Want the real Slim Shady?" Like he was doing. It was really awful. And I said Dizzy Gillespie, and I hope you don't think I'm racist, thinking that all black people look the same. I don't think that, but
Just black horn player.
just black horn players, trumpet players specifically. I can't tell the difference. So that's it. Let's get back to the show.
Then he goes into I'm going to do some Rodney Dangerfield, and he's doing Rodney Dangerfield impressions that are the worst I've ever seen.
Like Caddyshack quotes, like Dangerfield. Like
Dangerfield.
Everybody know, like bowl of soup hat type of shit.
He's bombing.
Yeah.
He's got a hefty bag full,
Right,
a
so
huge
it's like-
garbage bag full of shit that he hasn't touched.
Right.
And he gets the light. So for those of you who don't do comedy, someone shines a light when your time is up. And he gets the light and he goes, "Oh, I have so much more. I have," and he starts opening the bag and he starts pulling out like a blow-up doll and balloons and he's like,
I got a rubber chicken.
I have so much more.
Come on.
And the host gets on stage and he's like, "Give it up for this guy," whatever his name is, and everybody applauds. And then he slowly dragged his bag through the audience, stopping every 4 feet. And he would, and the guy hosting was trying to move the show along, and then he would go, I have so much more. I have so much more. And it was one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life, and the best. And that was one of those nights where they promise you a videotape, and they lie to you. They
Thank
don't
you,
get
Kevin Devlin.
Kevin Devlin
Bartender in the world.
Oh, this is dangerous. Thank you, Kevin. They promise you a videotape of your set, and they don't give it to you. And I didn't know that. And I remember going up to them after, and I was like, "Hey, I don't know if you guys were videotaping that show, but can I have that guy's set?"
He's got so much more.
I bet he.
So DeVito, who's performed so much more than me. Anthony DeVito, by the way, he just did the Montreal Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. Big deal. He's going to make it big.
Guys,
and then
I have so much more.
you're gonna make it big and then give me a career, right?
He's got a bag of stuff up here. You guys, I know you guys can't see it.
Yeah, I got a bunch of whoopee cushions.
But
and a picture of B. Arthur.
You have to have
I'm gonna do.
you have to have similar stories.
Yeah, I don't have that. I mean, that's a great story, and I do like how his catchphrase is just a sad catchphrase.
Yeah.
You know, like Larry the Cable Guy's like "Get her done," and like his is like "I have so much more, guys. That's so much more." Like he said that so much.
I could have been a contender.
The whole way just dragging a bag of shit out of the New York Comedy Club.
I trying to think of some bad gigs. I used to do I don't do them I guess as much now, but I used to do these like I was part of the Kosher College comedy tour, and I'm not Jewish at all. My name is Anthony DeVito, but they would book me because I kind of look Jewish, and like who gives a shit about the first act?
We would hand out pickles.
yeah. So I was just doing anything I could. And I would always have to do like, and it wasn't like it was just like, yeah, just get up there, do a couple minutes. I was doing like 20 minutes, and I was like a year into fucking stand-up comedy, which is a lot of time.
It's the worst, yeah.
For like, whatever. So like, but in these like Jewish shows, they'd be in like Hillel houses. And I would be like, hello, and everyone was like an 18-year-old kid with like yarmulkes who were just eager to see some Jew talk about, whatever Jews do in the summer. I don't know. But whatever, they go to camp and shit. I don't know what they do.
Sweat a lot.
Yeah, they just sit in a room. So
sweating at each other.
I would,
I'm sweating at you.
Oh, God, I'm just sweating. So these shows, the other thing about these shows was you had to be squeaky clean. And I mean, 20 minutes is a lot of time. And I don't have 20 minutes that's clean for sure. I don't have 3 minutes that's clean at that point. So then, so I start going and like, it's going fine, whatever. 15 minutes in, I start talking about sex. I got, one joke where I'm, just screaming, "Fuck me like an animal." And everyone is horrified. And it's St. Patrick's Day. My girlfriend and I had spent the whole day just getting fucking bombed. And then she goes to this thing. I have no idea about Judaism, what you can or can't say. I said all this stuff about Jesus, who I had no idea. Well, that's a whole other story. But, so then I did this one joke, like, where I'm like, hey, like, don't you hate people, like, who've, like, thinks, like, 2 weeks is, like, a long time to go without sex? And like this like very conservative Jewish girl, just my girlfriend's cracking up at the whole thing because I'm just bombing. It's horrible. And this Jewish girl whispers to my girlfriend, and she just goes, "Some of us have never had sex. All of us have never had sex." So I do this whole thing. It tanks. And I'm like, "Okay, see you later. Thanks." I get off stage. One girl comes up to me. Just super, super Jew. Like, she had like a bunch of the head things and all the stuff. She's very, very Jewish. Like, she could have been a matzo ball. Could have been surprised. I don't know why she didn't just spin up to me. So she, and I'm very sensitive and I'm very whatever. So I was like, Jesus Christ, that was horrible. Like, that was, what a nightmare. And she just goes, "I thought you were really good." And I was like, "Thank God for you." And I go to give her a big hug. And I guess Orthodox Jews, if you're a woman, you're not supposed to touch a man, like, ever. So then I go to give her this big hug, and she just starts freaking out. And I'm like, oh, she's not used to hugs. So I'm like, "Oh, come on, like, come in for the big thing. Come on, little girl." And she's just like,
"Let me hug you, matzo ball."
Yeah, like, I'm like saying shit like that, like, "Get over here, you big Jew." And she's like, she's like, "I can't go to heaven now." It was great. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, Jesus. The worst gig, definitely the worst gig I ever had was hepatitis B. There was a fundraiser.
That's
what?
You don't know this.
The worst gig I've had was hepatitis B.
I like that you would just call STDs gigs.
Yeah, gigs.
Oh, God.
Wait, you call diseases gigs?
Diseases gigs.
I've been dealing with this AIDS
This is already a mistake.
for a while now.
My parents are friends with this guy.
The gig I had was crabs.
He has hepatitis B, and he contacted me, and he was like, "Hey, I talked to your mom. I'm doing a fundraiser for hepatitis B. It's a Manhattan black tie event. People are going to come out. They're going to drink. We want to raise money for a good cause. You can do a comedy." And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "How much would you charge?" And I said, "Nothing. It's a fundraiser."
Yeah.
Like, what? It sounds great. Fundraiser, drinking, hepatitis B. I got this.
It sounds like a party.
I put on a 3-piece fucking suit. And I went to Manhattan, and I got in an elevator, and I got up to the floor, and the door opened, and I'll never forget, extremely well-dressed children just running around all over the place. It was like a kid's thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I was told there's going to be a band, and then you. The band was a church choir. I mean, literally, a bunch of, like, young white people singing Ave Maria.
Were they called, like, hepatitis B sharp?
That's great.
I wish, man. They were just up there and just like, Ave Maria. And everybody's eating dinner. And then they were like, "Ladies and gentlemen, your comedy act for the evening, John Saluga." And I'm...
Hepatitis John.
Here's the deal.
Hepatitis J.
I could.
Here for some yucks. Here comes Hepatitis J.
There are
A couple of guffaws.
I could maybe do 20 minutes of like clean material. And I go up there and they wanted me to do 30. I had never done 30. And 90% of that was fucking filthy. And I didn't know there were going to be kids there. So I'm eating dinner and I'm waiting for my turn and I get up there and it's fucking horrifying. And the first joke killed. I had a hepatitis joke. I said...
Wait.
Yeah, it's true.
What's your hepatitis joke?
I said...
What clean hepatitis
I said,
joke did you
"Hey, it's great to be doing comedy here for hepatitis B. If this goes well, next year I can do hepatitis A." Swear to God. And I got
you
a
all
huge
won't die.
laugh.
I can do hepatitis A.
And then I went into my regular material and they fucking hated me. Because here's the deal, like with a fundraiser, you can't do anything that's offensive in any way because they're like, we want people to donate money. So if you do something political, racial, even relationship stuff, it has to be so fucking clean. And I was supposed to do 30 minutes. I'm up there for 5 minutes. I did the hepatitis hepatitis B joke, and I'm doing the other shit, and I'm sweating in a 3-piece fucking suit. And my parents' friend, his name is Wayne. He gets on stage, and he stands behind another microphone, and I start another bit, and I'm like, "Hey, did you ever notice?" And he goes, "John," and I look at him, and then he just shook his head, "No." And I went, "Thank you, good night." It was the worst.
Your parents' friend Wayne?
I was the closing act. I was supposed to do 30 minutes. I was up there for like 4 minutes. He got on stage next to me and went and said my name and shook his head.
Shut you down?
And I said, "Thank you, good night." And then I ran in a 3-piece suit to the elevator. And I fucking left and I went home feeling
I ran
horrible.
to the bar.
Dude, it's a weird thing when the people who have hepatitis B are feeling sorry for somebody else.
Hepatitis J, everybody.
There was
Jesus Christ, we don't have it that bad.
And there was I was the big
We
act.
might be dying, but you're dying real bad.
I'll tell you something. That was the worst stand-up gig in the world.
Jeez, I hope
The only other one was when you and I did the Stone Pony. It was a battle of the bands.
in Asbury Park.
Here's the deal:
Oh,
if an audience doesn't expect comedy,
Wait. I gotta
don't
pee
do
again.
comedy.
I broke the seal.
Go pee.
I'm sorry.
But
I don't know what you're getting up to.
Chris and I were gonna do stand-up and sketch comedy in between every band.
It's the worst.
And I went up. Chris had an idea. He was going to be Paprika, who was the former member of Salt and Pepper that they got rid of.
That's funny.
So he went up and he was like, "Oh, Paprika," and they're just throwing shit. And I went up and I started doing stand up. I was like brand new. I'm at the Stone Pony, and I'll never forget. And there were 2 women with babies and baby carriages, and they were nice. But up against the stage, there was a pirate and his girlfriend, and the pirate was covered in fake blood, and he was just screaming, "You suck." And then he started a "Be More Funny" chant that went through the whole Stone Pony. So I was telling jokes, and I'd be like, "You might like this next bit," and they were like, "Be more funny." And there's a pirate bleeding in front of me. I mean, I've had...
Wait, did I hear Paprika?
Paprika.
Hey! Everybody's Paprika!
Tonight's the night that the audience is going to love Paprika. You're going to get
Why were you guys involved in the Battle of the Bands? How did that come to be?
Chris is a comic book artist,
Okay.
and there were other comic book artists that liked his artwork and then thought we were funny, and then they were like,
Here's a
"You
great
should
idea."
perform."
Yeah, they would
at this event that
throw
we're
these
hosting.
venues. It was this company called Angry Drunk Graphics.
Uh-huh.
And I had done some work for them and hang out with them from time to time. And they threw these venues with bands. So they were like a comic book company, but they were like involved with all these like underground punk bands.
Right.
We were going to
So they
host
threw
the
this
whole
thing.
show, and we had a hotel room booked and paid for so we could spend the night. We introduced one band.
We ran
And
out.
what was that band called? It was like...
It was Clam Fight, a lesbian band, an all-lesbian band called Clam Fight.
They threw
And
That's
I'll never
right.
forget, they got on stage, and I was like, the drummer came on stage, I was like, "Hey, how you doing?" He was like, she was like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
I was like, "All right."
We did
Clam
horrible
Fight."
stand-up. They introduced Clam Fight, and then we had a room booked, and we were supposed to host the whole night. We left without talking to anybody.
We jetted.
We drove. We just got in the car and drove home.
Man. Clam Fight. That's so
A fucking Clam Fight. All lesbian band called Clam Fight.
How could no matter how good you sound, you know what I mean? Clam Fight? No, you can't be a band.
And I got to tell you something. I know I don't perform as often as I should, but I run into stand-ups that have been doing it for like 2 years, and they talk to me, and I'm like, "You have no fucking idea."
Yeah,
The shit that I went through
that's insane.
5 years ago. It was a fucking nightmare. Everything we tried to do off Staten Island was a train wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Greg and I, this was years ago in
And
Jersey.
he's talking about Greg Stone, by
Greg
the way.
Stone.
Greg is probably going to be the guest on our next show.
All right.
So,
Greg Stone.
Yeah. So Greg and I, this is before we moved to New York. This is in Jersey. In Jersey, very, very conservative. We had one we had like a sketch show, that we did like twice.
Wait, you did sketch?
Yeah,
Oh,
we did
cool.
like a live like
we
sketch.
did sketch
thing.
for a while.
I did
I'm
that.
a big sketch guy, not so much stand up, but
I did it before I
Yeah.
did stand up. I did sketch stuff.
Cool.
And so I had never been on stage or anything. So Greg and I had this idea. We're gonna host our own show. It's gonna be the sketch like stand up show. So we find this venue, and like the bar owner I seem really cool. You know when like a guy like seems really cool and then he gets racist like immediately and you're like, oh, all right, well that's that. Like he was just like, we were like, yeah, we're excited to have the show here, and like he was like, yeah, it's gonna be great. Looks us dead in the eye and he goes, just don't bring too many moulignons. And I was like, yeah, all right. I think the thing that got me was that he said too many. Like I wasn't even mad about the moulignons.
just bring 4.
It was just like just not a lot. And then Greg and I, the first show, there's like an 8 o'clock and a 10 o'clock show. The first show was 8 o'clock. It's all just old Italians. It's old conservative Italian, just arms crossed. They're like, well, I don't know what this is. These 2 kids are doing. And then we opened with some 9/11 sketch, and man, it felt like the real 9/11. Like it was the worst thing ever. And I remember my mom coming to that and me being like, because I was doing architecture at the time, and me being like, I think I'm going to do comedy. Like, I think, like, that's what's in my heart. And, like, she's in the back,
I can tell
mortified.
Chris is about to tell one of 20 stories that relate to that.
Man.
I mean, because we dealt with
No.
that.
I want you to tell this story on the bus.
I lived across the street from this guy named Tony. Tony was a guy who, like, passed the collection plate around at church, but fucking hated black people. I have sisters... I'm 32. My sisters are 18 and 16. So there's a big age gap.
Yeah.
And he came over one time and we had Gullah Gullah Island on. And I remember the first thing he said coming into my home was, you let them watch this nigger shit?
Yeah,
He was that guy.
Nigga Island?
He was the same guy who after the 4th of July would get his vacuum cleaner and an extension cord and he would go down the street vacuuming fireworks. So he was out of his fucking mind. But Tony, here's the best thing. I was coming home from work one time, and I got on the bus, and Tony is at the back of the bus. So it's me, a bunch of black people, and Tony at the very back. And he waved, and I said, hey, Tony, what's up? And he went, thinking that this is a fucking code word, he went, hey, John, you believe all the molignons on this fucking thing? And then
that's a good word.
And then the bus
Someone like that has no place in society.
No, he's awful.
It's
and the bus doors shut, and I thought for sure we were all gonna die. And every black person looked at me just like they fucking know the drill.
Yeah.
Great story about that guy was my grandmother, who was in her 80s when she passed away years ago. She'd be in her 90s now. He was like, oh, I knew your grandmother when I was a kid. She slapped me in the face, and I was like, well, that's fucking great. like that's if there's any kind of redemption, it was that like he was a little kid acting like an asshole then, and my grandmother hit him in the fucking face.
Good. Did he say why it happened?
Yeah, he was trying to stealing my grandparents' own picnic grounds.
He was stealing moulignons.
He was stealing like a hot dog and a soda, and she went up and he was acting like an asshole, and she fucking slapped him.
Did we tell you about the time I was slapped in the face? Like probably one of the only times I was slapped in the face and didn't deserve it.
And that's a great. It's like I was slapped in the face 200 times, but there was this one time.
There was this one time. No, I was. I work in a hospital. At one point,
during your time at the hospital, you got slapped?
During my time at the hospital, I was working at the inpatient psych center. South Beach Psychiatric, it's called, right? Yeah. And this woman comes up to me. She had a baby doll, like a fake baby, that she was trying to feed pretzels and shit like that. It was bizarre. Yeah. And she walked up to me, and I was cool with her.
Like very familiar with it.
No, it is. No, my great grandmother was in like not a psych ward, but like an old age home, and that was like that's a very common trait.
Really?
Like,
See, I'd never seen that before. And I was cool with her and her baby. I didn't get between her and the baby.
Yeah.
But she comes up to me and slaps me in the face out of nowhere. Just walks up to me, slaps me in the face. She goes, "Are you still a fish?"
That's a valid question.
First time I had no answer. Okay. I just walked away. Yeah, I did not have an answer for her.
Yeah.
I did not know what to say, and I'm quick on anything. I'm quick-wit. I can jump on anything. I had nothing to say. I just hung my head in shame because I was a fish and walked away.
I was asked if I was a fish by Debbie the cat lady.
Oh,
I worked at ShopRite.
This is a great story.
There's a million stories. Debbie the cat lady was the customer nobody wanted to deal with. She was an old lady who would put she would dye her hair with lipstick. It was a fucking mess. It'd be all around her ears and stuff. I actually said
and put shampoo on her lips. She was all crazy.
She would flirt with me, and I would flirt back just to see how far I could go. She would be like,
"Wait, how old was she?"
Chris,
she was
70s?
An old broad. Yeah,
so she was in her 70s. How old were you?
I was 19.
Okay.
She was literally the cat lady.
She would be like, "Do you want to get with this?" And I'd be like, "Oh man, if there's one thing I love in my cleavage, it's a belly button." I said that to her, and she fucking laughed. She wore around her neck a glass vial filled with hair from cats that had died.
Oh my god!
That's where she was at. I used to ask her how many cats she had.
That's where she was at.
That's one of the Horcruxes.
I used to ask her how many cats she had. She would never tell me how many cats she had. She would just tell me that
Harry Potter.
She blamed the pizzeria for a cat dying, and I was like, why? And she was like, every Friday I order a pizza and I eat one slice and I put the rest of the pie on the floor for my cats. So already it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, it's a weird trick.
But she claimed to have slept with Cary Grant, who liked 1.5 English muffins every morning. Marlon Brando, who was disgusting when he was eating grapes.
Sometimes you can't dispute these people because, Ivy Nicholson, who we had on the show, she was once an Elle magazine cover model.
She was fucking Andy Warhol, and I have no doubt that.
But now she's a crackhead.
Debbie the cat lady was fucking Marlon Brando, but she was trying to get me over her house with She would buy me a lotto ticket and crab-flavored potato chips and then grab my arm and say,
"I got a pussy full of cat litter."
What she would really say, and here's the thing, what he said sounds horrible. This is the reality. She would buy me crab-flavored potato chips and a lotto ticket and say, "I dyed my pussy green for Halloween."
That is actually much better.
And 3 things would happen. I wouldn't go to her house.
I painted my pumpkin pussy colored.
These 3 things happen. I wouldn't go to her house. But I would check the lotto numbers, and Chris would eat the crab flavored potato chips.
They weren't crab. Wait, whoa. They were not crab flavored. Utz makes a crab chip.
Yeah.
Good chip. It's flavored with Old Bay spice. Chesapeake Bay. Yeah, it's the stuff they flavored crabs. It's not a crab flavored chip. It's the shit they flavored crabs with.
But you ate it every week until she was banned from the store for putting chopped meat in her pants.
And you know what? If you would have just fucked her, I'd still be eating crab chips.
But she
so there's no one here to blame but you.
I don't disagree.
Halloween's coming up, John. There's some green pubes with your name on them.
I'll tell you the truth, man. I'll try to get her on the show.
I want my chips.
I'll try to get her
I want my chips.
She wouldn't do video because she would. Do you remember?
Chips!
Do you remember what she said in video? There's a video of her saying, "I photograph like Dracula." That's the only video I have.
And I fuck like Frankenstein.
We might get her on the podcast.
I'd love to get Debbie the cat lady.
Get her immediately.
Her and her 17 cats just running around.
Those cats, I mean, when she dies, they're going to find us. By the way, any cat owners, anybody who defends cats.
Listen, I have 3 cats that are not, all females that are not fixed. So once a month, it's like fucking pussy bonanza. They're screaming for cock. All my animals are girls. I've got a pit bull boxer mix. That's a girl. I've got a Beagle Jack Terrier mix that's a girl, and I've got 3 cats that are girls. Only the dogs are fixed. But these fucking cats, dude, they will keep you up all night.
Yeah, no, I know.
They want cock.
But here's the
so bad.
Here's
to the
the
point where I'm almost like, maybe I should fuck these cats. Just to quell it. Just to soothe.
Here's the difference.
That's like a nice gesture.
Yeah, it's a nice as like, you know, like a
I should
hats
be a
off
good
to you.
owner.
Yeah, like, exactly. I should be a good
fuck
owner.
my cats.
Yeah, like I should fuck. You know. I feed you once a day. Maybe I should give you cock twice a day. Like that's what a good owner would do.
Here's where dogs are better than cats. If you only owned dogs and you lived alone and you died, we would find you dead with 2 dogs, skinny and crying next to your body.
No.
Yes.
Dude,
if you died with two cats, we would find a skeleton and 2 fat cats.
That's resourcefulness. You could go on vacation and leave the cats.
Cats don't.
I've got a little, like I said, I got a little beagle dog and a pit bull. Like the pit bull will eat the beagle if I go on vacation. The fucking
not
dogs,
you.
I mean the cats, they're resourceful. They'll fucking eat each other. They'll eat their dogs. They'll eat us. They don't care. The cats are the ones.
That's the whole thing, though.
They're the more evolved species.
A cat will eat you when you die.
Exactly, and that's what they should do. More power to the cats.
Well, we'll try to either get Debbie the cat lady or her skeleton on the show.
I think you should get both.
Let's get this. Let's get
the crypt keeper. We can animate her.
Let's get the skeleton. The skeleton that fucked Cary Grant.
Oh god, that'd be so great if you had her in the back and she just pops out every 5 minutes. It's just like, who wants to eat my pussy? You're just like shove her back in there. She keeps popping back. That'd be great.
We'll get her on. We're gonna get Dr. Z on the show. We have a lot of good people.
Yeah.
Dr. Z, that guy sounded good.
Mark Zawada,
Staten Island resident.
Best joke I've ever heard in my life. This guy had told us once. He had worked at a supermarket that was across the street from a cemetery.
And Chris, by the way, he would always warn me. He would always say, when the zombie invasion happens, you're in the worst possible place.
Yeah, you're going to die first, John.
He'd be like, you're across from a cemetery. You should really think about employment elsewhere.
But this guy, he once was like, he told us, he said, that Italian food is really popular here.
And he'd point at the cemetery across the street and say, you got to watch out for that Italian food. All right, that's the delivery.
Yes, that food.
They call it
the tombstone pizza.
We'll have him on the show very soon.
Oh, he'll kill. Trust me.
Dr. Z.
Seats will be filled when they find out Dr. Z is coming. With his tombstone pizza joke.
Anything you want to plug before we call it a night?
Plug?
What do you want to?
No, I'm good, man. This was great, man.
Well, I got one question for you, Ando.
Yeah.
Do you have a nerdy story you could tell us? The nerdiest
we
thing
didn't do this yet.
ever.
The nerd.
If you could dig deep to anything, the nerdiest thing ever.
And Greg Stone is a nerdy dude.
Sure. Yeah, I'm trying to think of things that I might have done or might have happened to me. Nerdiest thing. Oh, man, I'm not.
If you want, I could buy time with a nerdy thing, and then you can.
Go ahead. Yeah. I'll try to brainstorm some stuff.
Here's a nerdy thing. This is a regular segment we do on the show. My cousin Justin he was talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And there are a group of people, and I love my cousin Justin, but he's one of the nerdiest people I've ever met in my life. He was talking about these dudes that play Dungeons and Dragons online. Like, they don't even get together. They just, through a video chat, they play Dungeons and Dragons every week, once a week, which is pretty nerdy. The only thing nerdier than that is my cousin who watches them. My cousin Justin tunes in and he watches them play Dungeons and Dragons like it's a sporting event. That's the nerdiest thing I have this week.
Okay, I thought of something. It's not because I was a giant like sports nerd, so I would have. So I mean, There was this one game.
There's all types of nerds.
Yeah. So I was this giant sports nerd, but I'm an only child as well, so I never had like anybody else like to play with or anything like that. So there was a game called Baseball Simulator 1000, which all right, some of you might know it. So basically, like, what was great about this game was that it was like probably the first game I think that you could create your own guys. Not so much create them, but you could name different guys and do that sort of thing.
Yep.
And I was in Little League at the time, and I just made every team that was in our Little League. Like every single team and player, like friends of mine, not even friends, but I was honest about the whole thing. Like our team, Mastrianos, I never played. I was on the bench for the whole game.
Wait, Mastrianos?
Mastrianos. It was like a meat market. Like that was like our team name.
Yeah, I was Loyal Order of the Moose, and they spelt moose wrong on my hat.
I was Advanced Lock and Key.
I was technically Loyal Order of the Mouse. That's true. Yeah, it's awful.
Loyal.
It's the worst baseball team in the world. Yeah.
That doesn't even sound like a baseball.
No, it was spelled incorrectly, and I got hit in the nose with a ball, and I never played again. And my father has
That's
nothing
what I did. You got hit in the eye? I know a couple of girls that got hit in the eye, too.
Even the Chris Brown jokes to the professionals.
Who are the professionals? Chris Brown. Oh, so anyway, sorry. So I made like everybody. So then a friend of mine, just like first day becoming friends with him, comes over, and I was like, "Hey man, like I got something special to show you." And he was like, and then I was like, "Look, I made everybody." And he was just like, "What? Like, you're a psycho." And I was like, "That's you." But here's the fucked up part. I didn't know his name, and I thought he was Spanish, so I just named him Jose in the game.
Jose Burrito Pants.
It was like, "My name is Troy." And I was like, I think that might be the nerdiest thing I've ever.
Anthony, is there anything you can find? If you Google Anthony DeVito, you will find another comedian who's done much more than Anthony. And then if you scroll down, you'll find this Anthony DeVito,
And you gotta get
who
past all
I
the
think
Danny
is funnier,
DeVitos.
but he's not as accomplished, right? Is that a good?
I think, yeah.
You should.
Absolutely.
You should change. I should change my name. Like
No,
we're
I'm
all.
not changing anything.
If you look up Chris Sorrentino, you'll find a doctor.
Yeah, there's like an author named Chris Sorrentino.
And then again, if you scroll down further, you will find this.
Look up Fat Chris Sorrentino.
If you look up John
Right,
Saluga, you might find an accountant who's disappointed in his son's choices in life. But if you scroll down, you'll find my website, and you can find these guys. So Chris Sorrentino.
Wait, you can always find me at wahoo'stumblr.com.
I'm John Saluga with Chris Sorrentino.
That's
This is
me.
the end of the Super Live Adventure podcast. I hope you come back. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah!
All right, so that was a great episode there, John.
Yes, it was.
Like John and I are both sitting in his apartment wearing Star Wars T-shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking geeks.
I know. They're slowly becoming the only T-shirts I have.
Yeah, right?
Because even T-shirts that I get sick of, I throw them out. But I'll hang on to a Star Wars shirt until it just deteriorates on my body.
Yeah, me too. I think I had to throw one out once, and it wasn't too bad. It was like a prequel shirt. It was Sebulba, the pod racer.
That's a good shirt to throw out.
And yeah, I was the only one I ever had to throw out, and I was still upset by that. But we're both wearing original trilogy shirts right now.
That's
so
right.
That makes us.
Yeah, no Sebulba shirts here.
No.
So I just want to thank everybody again for listening. The response so far, just the previous two that we put up, we had a lot of downloads. We had over 200 downloads in a month, and we're both really happy, and we hope that you guys keep spreading the word about this show.
Yeah, stick around and hang on, and enjoy the ride with us. And if you are inclined to do so, please leave a comment, a review, or something, especially on the iTunes. That really helps out, and lets us know what you think. So feel free to to give us a little heads up.
Yeah, definitely. And thanks to those of you who have left comments already.
Yes.
I want to plug something. If you're downloading this on the day that it was released, so that's today, Tuesday, April 30th. I have a show tonight, 8 o'clock at Full Cup. I'm going to be on Vin Forte's That Time of the Month, so come check that out. That's a free show.
That's another podcast, right?
It's another podcast, yeah.
And that'll be up for download eventually.
That's
I
right.
don't know what his schedule is, but look for that. Vin's a good friend of ours, and he's on the show eventually, right?
Yeah, he'll be on in a few episodes.
Yeah. Also, if you're around Saturday, May 4th, which is also Star Wars Day, May the 4th be with you, and free comic book day at your local comic shop. Check out Comic Book Jones in Staten Island if you're around. I'll be there. But yeah, also later on in the afternoon, I'll be with my band, Wahoo Skiffle Crazies. We're a jug band playing at Snug Harbor Cultural Center here on Staten Island. It's either we're playing at 12 or 1 or 2 or 3. We don't know yet. If you come at 12, you're good. You'll have your bases covered.
That's right. Anthony DeVito, I just want to plug something for him. He runs a show with Eric Bergstrom and Greg Stone every Monday night at 8 o'clock at Niagara. That's 7th Street and Avenue A in Manhattan. That's a funny show. If you want to see more of Anthony DeVito, definitely check that out.
And congratulations to world's greatest bartender, Kevin Devlin, who had the world's greatest baby.
That's right.
Cassius Flynn Devlin. About a week ago?
Yeah,
little baby boy.
So congrats to Kevin and Rachel on the new baby.
Yeah, you guys are in for a lot of fun.
And we just want to make one correction, right, before we end with the show?
Yeah. We're sorry to Clam Fight.
Just want to apologize to Clam Fight. We talked about them being an all-lesbian band, and
those guys aren't a bunch of lesbians.
Yeah, those guys aren't lesbians. I don't know why. I don't know why we said that. I think we really wanted them to be.
I think it was. We saw them and we were like, "Oh, that would be a great name for an all-lesbian band." And then, just through the years and the drinking, they became a lesbian.
They became
band.
an actual lesbian band. But I looked them up and they're not. So check out Clam Fight. I think that's it for us. We'll be back with another show next month. We're going to release 2 a month. Remember, we have 1 live show a month, too. So please check out my website, johnsaluga.com. That's JOHNSZELUGA. That's it for us.
Yeah, you say it. You say it.
Fit it where you shit it.
I will.